How's it going, ladies and bruises? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to the letter. We're Ashton, still, and judging by the branching tree, will be for some time. We've barely started, in fact. Holy fuck, I don't even, you know. I guess he's the main character then. I thought Isabella was the main character, but, you know, who knows. For his part, Z-Man doesn't push it. Nothing but a heavy silence leads our departure later. Well, it looks like we're going to go investigate the actual supernatural goings-ons in the place now, which is exciting. That's the bit I've been looking forward to, really. And, you know, we're the investigator, Ashton. Makes sense that we'll go investigate. I don't know when Zach dies in the timeline, though, because I still messed him up, remember? Seriously, Zach would probably make a more responsible officer than me, if he only had the heart to join the force. We could certainly use more kind people like him. But as good as that thought is, I push all of it to the back of my mind as Isabella and I head for my car. Tonight, I can't stay distracted. Except for a few half-hearted attempts to get some kind of reaction from Isabella, the drive to BRC is quite an awkward affair. More so, the hour-long wait for nightfall. Even with only the two of us, the place is rife with tense energy. Only a matter of minutes now. But the ticking seconds doesn't take away from the edge. And for the fifth time, I reach out and fiddle with the radio, adjusting and turning the knobs with no real purpose. It's a nervous quirk I've developed and I've never bothered to correct during stakeouts. Something to keep my mind occupied during long nights. Well, I can understand why you do that, because there's never a good radio station. So you just gotta keep flicking between them. What else is there for me to do? The person I usually count on for a casual, out-of-the-blue chat refuses my attempts at starting one.
Ash, out with it!
The way she quickly falters into silence after, in spite of the tone she takes, though, it makes me doubt if she really means everything she's telling me right now. She hasn't even glanced my way since we arrived.
Having second thoughts? You can still back out if you want.
We're just going to my office. Why should I?
Dunno? You can get in trouble, maybe. This isn't exactly legal.
Scope BRC out, see if the real estate company has any more information that may be of help. Find things about Cooper and the other agents assigned to the Ermengarde mansion. According to Isabella, it's the last property the victims have worked on. Sure, I could also check the station for full reports. That's the easy, semi-legal way. But I don't want to bump into Chief right now. The guys at the precinct will definitely throw me out on his orders as soon as they see me. Not that my plan right now is any better. I'm just breaking into a different place, more or less, with a civilian to boot. The latter still doesn't sit well with me, it never will, especially if this might put her in a very tricky position afterwards. I know you want to put her in a very tricky position. Hey-oh! She's been very careful when it comes to her work. Almost a model employee, as people would say. Why is she throwing caution to the wind now? Because she doesn't want to die by a fucking scary monster lady?
I'm not an employee here. I'm not supposed to be looking for any confidential stuff. Only people like you are privy to.
If you mentioned earlier that this is your plan, I might have had enough time to think about it. I already promised to help if you need access to those files. I didn't think you'd want to see them this soon and in this way. Besides, the same goes for you, right? You were taken off your case. Won't you get in trouble with your boss?
Yeah, man, but who cares? Honestly, it's a toss-up between breaking into her office or the Wright's mansion. As it stands, I'll have an easier time getting in here first. After all, why would someone want to break into a realty company? Unless they keep the title deeds in a safe. Been here many times before anyway, for a few casual visits when I wanted to bug Scaredy Cat. Over the years, I've more or less grown familiar with their security setup and how badly staffed they are. Plus, it's an old building. If the bankruptcy rumors are true, it just means their access protocols might also be outdated.
Still, I can do this on my own, you know.
Really? And how are you even planning to get into our office without an access card? Please explain.
Smash a window.
Well, I was going to pry open the card reader and use a gecko.
You're a hopeless case. I really want to know why no one has locked you up yet.
Yeah, you're helping me with this. Willingly. I don't think that'll sit well with the Philippine embassy either. Chances are you'll probably get deported the minute they find out.
Really? Low blow, I know, but it's worth a shot when she can still turn back. It's not like I don't have any means to get into the place. With or without her, I have a way.
At least I have a reason to be snooping about. My badge and rank can speak for me in case things go south. You?
For a passing second, it seems to work. A hint of panic and hesitation flashes across her features when she looks to me with searching eyes. Then unexpectedly it dissolves. Not behind the fear I'm anticipating, but underneath something sharp and searing. I'm not sure what she sees exactly or what she's hoping to find in that short while she holds my gaze. All of it merely goes unspoken, and no longer than a minute later she simply averts her attention back to the window, training it once again at some point outside.
Isabella, please, now is not the time.
It's too late for that, Ash. Give it a rest.
An appeal spoken in a voice too harsh coming from her. Perhaps unintentional, perhaps one that's already too exhausted of everything going on lately. It's hard not to concede when she takes on that tone, and soon, despite myself, I sigh, tucking away every concern I've been lugging around in favour of trusting her on this. According her the same confidence she has implicitly given me all this time.
Alright, okay, if that's what you want. And don't worry, I didn't mean what I said earlier. I won't let anything happen to you.
Her lips briefly turn up in a smile, though none of the cheer reaches her eyes.
Just get this over with, okay? Everyone should be out of the office by now.
Somehow the uncertainty in her posture makes me wonder if she intended it as some kind of comforting gesture. Whether it's for me or for her, she doesn't let me find out. Without saying another word, she exits the car while I'm left scrambling and chasing after her. She's already at the side entrance, a hand raised on the card reader beside it, and another poised to push the door open when I catch up to her. Whatever doubt there has been in her face a while ago, it's gone. Presumably it keeps a log of who signs in, right? So they'll know that she was there, or that her card was used to open it at the very least. Seeing her like this makes it easier to believe my worries are unfounded, that things might go smoothly this time.
And where do you think you kids are going? It's late. Most offices in this building have already closed up shop for the weekend.
The bloke seems friendly enough, though one can't really tell from his voice alone. He might be the weary sort for all I know. Keeping an unconcerned face and aloof air won't hurt until I figured out how to wiggle us out of the situation.
Just come back on Monday if you have important business.
But from the way Isabella's face brightens up, it looks as though getting through won't be too much of a problem. He's probably been working here a few months already then, maybe around 4 to 6 months max. Otherwise he would have recognised Isabella or me at first glance. I haven't shown my face here since I've been assigned to the firm case a year ago. In the first place, none of their security officers ever last a year in the service. The longest was around 7.5. I give this guy around that before he gets fired or finds a better paying job. For the moment, his too friendly attitude is almost a gift.
Hey, Seb!
Oh, look who we have here. Been a few days since I last saw that ponytail in here, Santiago?
Close enough!
Wait, don't tell me yet. I'll get it right this time. Sanchez!
You were closer the first time?
Drat. I swear it is on the tip of my tongue. I just need a hint to remember.
I take it back, this geezer's not going to last past a month. He can't even remember a regular employee's name.
Alrighty, I'm sure of it this time. Centillon?
Still a few ways off, Seb.
Isabella, we don't have all night.
I know, just let me handle this. Sorry, Seb. Some other time. We're in a bit of a hurry. I just need to get a few things from my cubicle. Important work stuff, you know? Is it okay if we drop upstairs for a sec?
I mean, sure, he doesn't remember her name, her last name, but he remembers the ponytail. Come on.
Oh, absolutely. No, go right ahead. As long as you have your access card with you, we're good. Not sure if I'm allowed to let your boyfriend in, though.
Who, me?
My what?
Your boyfriend. The guy with you, isn't he?
It's a fair observation if I do say so myself. Needless to say, the silence that descends is both uncomfortable and terribly awkward. Although the letter's probably coming mostly from me because in the next second Isabella laughs. Lighter than the ones I've heard from her lately. A comforting sound really after seeing her in such a dour mood since this morning. Even as all of it subsides into mere chuckle sooner than I like. It's comforting to see that I'm at least partially responsible for it despite my poor heart being beaten to a sorry pulp.
Oh, no! No. He's definitely not my boyfriend.
She might as well have set it on fire and reduced it to dust while she's at it. Frankly, the number of no's in that sentence alone is a bit too much. Christ, one would have been enough to get the message across. Did she really have to put it that way?
That's impossible! Stop being funny, Seb. I'll go on ahead, okay?
She quickly shuffles inside with nothing more than a small wave, leaving behind an even more awkward atmosphere for me to wade through. It would have been bearable if I didn't have to suffer through a stranger's amusement. Alas, woe is me.
Not the boyfriend, but close to it, huh?
Mind your own business.
Kids these days. Good to see her up and about, though. Thought for sure she'd up and disappear like the others.
Excuse me?
You know, stuff in the news.
You mean what happened with Rose Cooper?
If I'm going to be stuck here with him for a while, I might as well gather as much intel as I can. He might just be some guard, someone with no real authority, but most of the time, people like him are the ones who know more than they let on. Yeah, he's like the bartender of the place, you know? Everybody talks to him every day as they come in, as they leave. You hear things, man. He's got nothing else to do.
Yeah, but even before that, we've got a couple of good blokes we never saw again.
Really? Those guys could have just resigned for all you know.
No, I only catch tidbits of stuff from over here. Though seriously, I heard the branch is getting flushed soon, but that's no excuse for anarchy. Figures why Boss Man's been in an awful temper these past months.
They managed to strike a good deal with the mansion in Ansem, right? That didn't do the trick?
Didn't seem like it. The bloke shouting like no tomorrow again. Wasn't very pleased when Gurley called and asked for another leave yesterday afternoon.
Gurley? Isabella?
It's not too surprising considering she's already been gone for 3 days. Now she's asking for another? Not that it's a bad thing, it's within her rights as an employee, but Isabella rarely uses her work leave.
Yeah, poor lassie if you ask me. She found him a buyer for that mansion after all. The least he could do is be considerate to her after a family member's passing.
Wait, what?
The rumours, BRC, Rose Cooper, missing in action employees, all of it ceases to matter in that instant. Almost on instinct, my eyes zero in on the intercom speaker as if staring daggers at it will show me the man behind the voice so I can see the truth in his face.
Oh, you don't know?
No, what?
Nothing. I shouldn't be the one you're asking, and, things might get a bit boring here. No one really wants to hear what a poor old guard wants to say. Why don't you just go after her? As long as you're not looking to create trouble for me, it won't be a problem. You aren't here for that, right?
Actually, we are, but don't worry, we'll keep it to a minimum. He's lucky I'm not here to hurt anyone. If I were someone with ill intentions, he might not be smiling at the end of the day.
Well, no, but...
I'll go and unlock that side entrance for you then. Just don't forget to turn off the lights before you both leave, okay?
Hey, wait a second. What do you mean by...
He cuts off the connection before I can finish, and the rest of my questions die in my throat. Soon the latch clicks and the side door swings open. The Seb, a stout man wearing a uniform still too loose for him, waves me over for the gap before he disappears behind his station again. Just my luck, here I thought I'm going to have to count on whatever Isabella brings with her. Although, no matter how much I want to feel happy, something else has already taken a firm seat in the forefront of my mind. Is that why she's been acting not like herself today? Since when? Of course, as I step into the building, I try to push all of these questions as far down as I can. I need to focus. Work is work. But if what I heard is exactly what I think it is, it's a sign of things to come. Honestly, I don't feel too good about that. It's a quiet ride up to the 7th floor, where the BRC Luxbourne main office is. Seb has been kind enough to switch the guest elevator's power on, just as I'm about to head for the fire exit stairs. Which is a welcome relief. I'm an active guy, but stairs? I don't want to tire out too quickly in case things get ugly. Stairs. Oh, stairs. So hard. There probably won't be any trouble with the building this quiet, but you never know. I swear, the whole place definitely feels eerie at this time of night. But until I've confirmed anything, those are still just stories. Worst things can happen. No need to scare myself. Staying calm means fewer
Oh, I
mistakes.
sure am fucking gutsy, especially with what I'm doing.
I'm breaking a lot of laws here. I'm also putting Isabella in a lot of risk. Best thing that can come out of this is that Isabella's right all along. Worst case scenario? 1. Someone finds out Isabella's involvement in this and her boss fires her. 2. I find evidence that would implicate BRC or Luke Wright in a crime, and my meddling, if I'm not careful enough, makes it inadmissible in court. Though, I'll be honest, I strongly prefer losing my job or facing Wright over some spirit or ghost or whatever it is. I could always work around the problems with the former. Isabella could also find a better job. BRC never did pay her properly despite her efforts. But fighting off a phantom? How does one even do that? Do guns work with them? I doubt it.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Although, frickin' Becca threw something at them and it seemed to just delay her a bit. But tonight, I'm here to fix things. If I do it without leaving a trail, all the better. Good thing that's what I'm good at. What I'll probably never be good at is finding the proper words when a sitch calls for it. But seeing Isabella's small form behind those doors, how she pushes through despite carrying an entirely different burden this time, how she's pretending as if everything's normal, it's difficult not to try. People who've never looked beyond her smiles will never know, will never understand. Hell, even Rebecca's probably not yet aware of this. I get it. We have other problems at hand. I've done the same thing plenty of times to protect myself after all. But it's all in her eyes when she glances up at the few light raps I give at the door. She wastes no time in leaving the mess of papers on the table and opening it for me, though even her confusion as she takes in my presence barely hides it.
Seb let you in?
The rough edge in her voice rings a whole different tune now that I'm aware of why. But knowing is different from hearing it straight from her. I simply can't bring this up, can I? It's not a topic suited for casual conversation, and I doubt she wants to talk to me about it. As much as I want to help, there's a distance between us I'll never be able to cross. One that wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for me. Perhaps if I'd been more honest years ago and less of a coward, I might have been able to. Figures I can't even do that for the one person I keep telling myself that I care deeply about.
What can I say? I'm a very charming person.
To a rock, maybe.
This is the closest we can get to it, I suppose. The light banter, the fleeting glances, or sometimes the long bouts of silence. And it's enough. For me it is, because even without words, there's comfort. With her, it's easy.
Must be a pretty cool rock then.
Ugh, get over yourself.
Hey now, I deserve some slack here. Today's supposed to be my day off, and yet here I am helping you out.
Helping? By standing at the door?
I'm supervising.
Well, you're not exactly letting me in.
Despite what she says, she moves to block me when I try to enter. She must have expected this. The second we walked up the building's entrance and counted on the night shift guard to bar me from the place. It's reassuring to know that she's somehow worried about me, although it's a bit misplaced at the moment. Besides, her concerns aside, I can't really let her get into the thick of things without me. Not with all the problems on her plate right now.
Isabella!
Seriously, Ash. Seb might get in trouble for this. You might get in even bigger trouble with your boss.
Why do you just yell her name? Why do you go, Isabella? We're meant to be sneaking, fuckwit.
And you're not?
What? That was so weird. Obviously the wrong audio file was put there.
We've already talked about this back at Zach's. It's out of the question.
Just imagine sneaking about. Shh, be very quiet. We've got to look around for evidence. Isabella!
At least do it for Seb, please. He's a really nice guy. With the way things are going here, he's...
On that, I agree with her. Seb's not such a bad fellow. Might be a little careless with his job and talks too much, but he means well. I hate to see a guy leave here with a bad record in case something goes wrong. However, the anxious look she shoots back the table behind her brings an even bigger worry.
Did you find something? Aside from what you told me about yesterday?
Not yet. I'm not sure. I haven't started going through the files we have in the records room. Just the ones they handed to me and Rose.
We're gonna find out about those guys that went missing that Seb was talking about.
Let me see.
Wait, Ash!
Isabella, I already promised you that no one's going to get in trouble after we're done here. Even Seb. I'll make sure we leave the place clean.
Her hesitation's still there, a split second of indecision as she tries to form an argument. Eventually, when nothing comes to mind, she steps aside.
Okay, but we can't take the original files out of this office, clear? Not even a single sheet. We'll just have to make a copy.
Don't worry, that's the plan.
It appears to reassure her, a nod. Then shortly, she gestures for me to follow. Passing the sea of cubicles, I can't help but take in everything in their office, force of habit for the most part. As far as I know, BRC Luxborn used to own this whole building. Offices and several floors, once upon a time when real estate is still a lucrative business for the company in this side of the country. Then competition showed up and suddenly everything's not so good anymore. It only got worse as the years went by, or so according to the rumors. Now the branch is just this floor, despite what the huge sign in the building's facade says, and frankly, it's not too hard to believe when one looks at the state of this room right now. A number of desks have been cleared out. Personal mementos are scarce, as if the employees have gone on an exodus. That'll be the downsizing, probably. Still worrisome, though. Of course, I shake away all this when Isabella starts handing me the papers she's been looking through. Focus free. There's no point in whining or dwelling on it any longer. That's why we're here in the first place. To find out what the real deal is, the old-fashioned way. Isabella's presence is a whole other blessing, too. I couldn't imagine how long this would take if I pushed going in here alone.
Is this everything? Where are the documents you mentioned?
And she knows where everything is.
Still locked up in the records room. Do you need them now?
Bring them here. Everything that has to do with the mansion's sale. Even those who worked on it during the renovations. The cleanup. Everything. Including your mandatory sign-in sheets.
It's an odd thing to bring up, but at least it elicits a laugh from her before she heads to the records room. Why? She remembers. And no matter how weak the sound of it from her usual ones, it's a welcoming thing to hear. It reminds me of that Isabella I know is still there. She returns minutes later with a thick stack of folders and binders. For the next half an hour, we were working in complete silence while we dig into everything compiled in the folders. Not an easy task considering how thick the whole thing is, but there's two of us. In fact, Isabella does most of the work, sorting the contracts, the employee list, and stuff we won't need into a neat pile. Just the files for the restoration alone makes up a stack of papers that's an inch thick. Third-party service providers hired by for the masonry, radiators, woodworking, plasterwork, slate roofing, and a whole bunch of other things are well documented. Hell, every single contractor who worked on the project were listed individually, even if they were just there to do the plumbing. It's a high-profile and high-cost estate, alright. But with that scope comes with loopholes. It means plenty of room to hide something in, if there's something fishy going on. All I have to do is find a pattern. And it doesn't take long. Upon a closer glance, despite the original owners shouldering the renovation costs, it'd be surprising if they managed to break even on the Ermengarde mansion. While with the additional expenses for the open house, the commissions for their agents, and other overhead fees. At one point, the negotiations to get it listed under BRC's name almost broke down too. Some disagreement about the listing price. The owners wanted to be rid of it as quickly as possible while keeping the worth at a profitable level. BRC was insisting on a higher amount, double what the appraiser suggested. This, plus the rumour that the branch is closing, BRC Luxborn's really in the red, and the sale of the mansion could have easily been a desperate move to keep the branch afloat.
No wonder the final sale happened as fast as it did. Did you know about this?
No, they took it off our hands after I submitted the final documents for the sale. I didn't even know until I read this. I'm not sure if Rose did. I've only been given the key to the records room after she... Anyway, my point is, they've kept all the files from me. Rose was the one who compiled everything from our side. And even then, she was probably not aware of this. There's only so much they let us know. After that, they just told us to wait for our commission, and that the legal team would handle the rest. The rumors are true. Huh.
Seems so.
Sheesh, this place is just unlucky. Going bankrupt while the rest of this crap is happening. But this isn't what we're looking for. What we need is the who. The people aside from Isabella and Cooper involved in this business with the mansion and how they are now. We can't do much with the outside contractors. They won't be on file. The employee list, on the other hand. Even with 2 people working through the pile, this whole task still takes quite a while. It's a quarter of an hour later when we put down the papers with a sigh and move on to the clients upon Isabella's insistence. For that, the sign-in from the open house comes in handy. Something that gives me a laugh when I spy the fake name I wrote on the sheets. Where? Who is it? Which one? Ashley? Oh.
Why'd I even pick this name? It sounds so lame.
What name?
It's gotta be Ashley, right?
Nothing important. Just focus on those papers you have. We need to finish this soon, before Seb suspects anything.
Because his boss's name is Lee, though, isn't it? Interesting. She snatches the paper away before the thought of hiding it occurs to me. Not that there's much secret in it. Isabella found me that afternoon anyway, but still.
Ash Lee?
I've been careless that day, tailing Luke Wright without confirming where they were heading off to. While the butler's terribly efficient in keeping the Wrights' engagements from the public eye, there are other ways, if only I've given the time of day. In retrospect, I've been too eager, too impatient to find something that'll crack the case and be done with it. Maybe my failure goes as far back as the day of the open house, not during the party last night.
Yeah, well, I was pressed for time.
Seriously? Ashley? Were you even trying?
Oh, come on. You didn't even notice I was the one who wrote it down.
Of course I wouldn't. Only an idiot would use his real name.
It worked, though. Admit it. It's genius. Who would have thought, huh?
She responds with a roll of her eyes, then drops the matter entirely by shoving the paper back in my hands. We lapse back to our respective tasks afterwards, wordlessly skimming through everything. Read, set aside, get another one. Looking back at the sign-in sheet, I spot Luke Wright and Hannah Wright listed up top. Not that I didn't know about them already, of course, but scanning through the list, a name immediately comes to my attention. What? Who? Richard Frank?
Madeline Williams.
Who's Madeline Williams?
Something wrong?
Huh? No, just that I remember this girl listed here.
She frowns, moves her seat closer and takes a careful read at the sheet. There's a long moment before she speaks up again, but from the way she tenses, she appears to be expecting the worst already.
What about her?
She did, right?
She was with me, in the group following Cooper, when we toured the upstairs part of the mansion, I mean. Rather loud one, especially when we took a peek into the attic. Kept talking about the ghost stories the whole tour.
Then Do you? Do you think she's...
She was reported missing 3 days after.
There was a ruckus at the precinct the day her family filed it. Threats were naturally given at the lack of progress days later. Desperate ones. Her family's willing to shell out all the cash they have just to find her. To no avail, unfortunately. Officer Benjamin has been in a bad mood ever since he spoke with them, but what can he do? What can we do? He's tied. We're all tied. There's only so much we're able to do, with everything that's been shoved into our hands
She
recently.
still hasn't been found. It's already been a week.
Isabella makes no further comment aside from a nod. Instead, she sits back on her chair with a distant look in her eyes, her hands balling to fists as she struggles with her frustration? Or maybe it's anger. But the moment doesn't last too long. Soon her grip loosens and she folds her hands back in her lap. Her expression, however, is one I've seen too many times in the mirror. What does one say to a person burdened by not one loss, but many, who carries it in her shoulders like a badge of shame? I'm yet to find the answers to that myself. Until then, the only way is forward. Press on to see where our attempts at fixing our mistakes might lead us. And despite my own doubts, a glimpse of that look on her face is enough reason for me. I can't just give up. There's too much at stake, too much to lose. With a renewed focus, I continue. On the third and last sheet, I spot another one. Beatrice Wilde. One I recall from the newspaper obituaries. Died of a heart attack. A letter of correspondence expressing condolences to her family confirms as much in her files. Passed away at the age of 74 in her
She's
sleep.
at that age. It certainly could have been a natural death.
Right? I'd like to believe so. But 3 more letters turn up when I rummage through the stack, and it leaves nothing more than foreboding feeling in me. They're all addressed to the families of clients who have passed away in the past week. Regardless, these go into the pile of things worth looking into after our visit here, along with William's info sheet. There are just so many names, so many faces. Each one I've seen that day, and here I am wondering if they're all alright. It isn't a selfless thought that brings the question to mind, rather, it's the logic that if more of them are still alive, the more people I can choose to question. Nothing's concrete yet, of course. These are just speculations, but we're making progress. Once done with the sign-in sheets, I stash it along with the growing pile to my left, and pull out as many of the other documents Isabella has already prepared for me. We're working through the employees list now. Those who have been assigned to the mansion. Because if Isabella is to be believed, if what she's seen and what happened to Rose Cooper is because of that letter, I need to know everyone who has possibly read it aside from the 3 of us. If they've been noticing strange things too, for all I know, these may just have been a terrible coincidence. Although the thought of that starts to diminish as we dig into BRC's company files. 15 minutes later, the stack close to my elbow has risen from 5 to 21 different dossiers. Client and employee documentation, people who have either visited the open house or worked on the property in some capacity since the letter's discovery. Turns out there were 2 more employees who handled the mansion directly, aside from Cooper and Isabella. Christian Sy, the Realty specialist, and Mark Julius Jean-Marie, the estate appraiser.
This C guy, he was in custody just the other day.
Really? Sir John has been looking for him. He stopped reporting to work a few weeks ago. Are you sure it's the same person?
Yep, this is him. Folks at the precinct said they went to his house after a noise complaint. They found him just acting all crazy. Had to take him in when he started getting violent.
He's lost the plot.
He kept screaming about a woman.
Well, we know why he lost the plot. Immediately, she stiffens. I don't want to bring it up or imply a connection to Isabella's story, but that's exactly what
He
happened.
was driving the guards mad, but he didn't last too long in there. A few hours in, and he just started bashing his own head against the wall, and, well, it was messy, to say the least.
Oh no, we had no idea. Is he okay?
I guess he's dead.
HR just marked him as AWOL because none of their calls would get through.
He's in the hospital right now. I heard they're putting him into a psychiatric ward as soon as he recovers. He's still a bit unstable.
Okay, he's alive. Jean-Marie, on the other hand, his employee file notes his date of leaving and when his final payment had been given. Along with it, there's a letter to his family about the appraiser being found dead in the office. Communication is hush-hush, and there's mention of compensation if they don't talk about it to the media. Inspector Abigail has often scolded me for not reading the reports on a regular basis, but I try to keep us up to date as much as I can. When I do, I make sure I'm aware of the gist of what's going on in my city. This never reached the police's ears, or the health and safety executive.
Do you know about this guy?
One glance at it says everything. They've hidden it from the media. They've kept it from the police. It's not surprising this will also be a secret from someone of Isabella's position in this company. Fuck.
Rose was looking for him. last week. We haven't heard anything from him either. Until now. They never mentioned this to us.
Business going under and someone dies while working here? Of course they want to keep that quiet. It's bad publicity. This whole thing is just getting freakier by the minute. Nevertheless, I hand the files for Isabella to make a copy of.
The pages with their names, addresses, and contact numbers will do. We'll start with the ones who live within the city.
Sometimes there are things you really can't brush off as mere coincidence. In my line of work, once a pattern pops up, it's only right to be suspicious. Especially the thing with Psy. Or C, is it? It hits too close to the stuff my own friends have been telling me.
All of this?
It's considerably thinner than the one she brought in, yet somehow the way she hugs the folders close to herself makes it seem heavier. Like she's hanging onto it in the same manner one will latch onto a lifeline.
Only the noteworthy ones.
And those that might still be alive. Might. She doesn't need to know that.
We can't check the outside contractors, but the guys with the direct connection to BRC and the people who attended the open house should be enough. We don't have time to see how everyone's doing, especially if what you said is true.
For a second she appears about to argue, then quickly decides against it and hides away before anyone reads the question in her face. Then, in a too abrupt motion, she turns towards the copier and gets to work. Soon only the machine's constant thrum fills the air around us while I keep myself busy cleaning up the mess we've made. The lack of talk was awkward, to put it mildly. Disturbing at worst. I've gotten so used to letting her just babble away whenever it's just the two of us. I could tell, however, she wants to do more. She wants to fix this mess herself, and that desire makes her antsy. But at the same time, she's learning how not to be impulsive or stubborn, exactly as I've told her yesterday before agreeing to any of this. Or maybe these so-called changes have always been with her. Dire situations have always pushed people to change, after all. Although seeing this happen in front of me only makes it difficult to find the proper thing to say. In an atmosphere this tense and charged, what is left for us to talk about? Certainly not the news. What's worse is when you realize all of this in hindsight, right after you've already run your mouth.
You know, for a house your company seems to be in a hurry to sell, they still made quite a fortune out of it.
Then how are they shutting down? What's the problem?
Look at this. 1, 2, 3... 6. Are you sure they're planning to give your entire share for this? This isn't a small amount, especially given the usual cut. And their accounting department isn't in the greatest shape either.
Even if they don't, it's not like someone still needs it.
There's the reason why people don't let me talk. Silence once again descends throughout the room, denser compared to the ones we've shared tonight. Behind me I can still hear her movements, sharp and precise, while she feeds the originals to the machine. Then with one last click, all of it stops. Her feet shuffle lightly against the floor when she moves away. Something creaks softly, probably the table, and she settles her weight against its side. By this time an apology is already at the tip of my tongue, but...
Well,
Papa's gone, Ash.
Within those scant few seconds, everything between us shifts as the gravity of her words sink. Alright, we need to wrap this one up. But, good work. I mean, that list of names is going to be huge. I guess we're going to go around and talk to everybody, see who's alive, who's not alive. We're going to get the scoop on her papa now, apparently, so I guess... I guess maybe that's why she's pushing so hard now, because she doesn't feel like she's got anything left to lose. She's only here to look after him anyway, to pay for his medication, and if he's already gone... She's got nothing here anymore, even if she gets deported. What difference does it make, right? I feel for her. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.